One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's Bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Y'all, we are living in some crazy times right now. Am I right? Everyone feels a little uneasy. There's some really strange things happening. And the best word I can think of is weird to describe exactly how I'm feeling about all the things that are happening. But with that being said, I knew that my podcasting peeps here needed a little extra loving up on, because you just do. I can hear it in your voices. I can see it in the messages that are being posted on social media. So I decided to put together a training to help you if you've been like, Crystal, I think I want to start my podcast. I'm still not sure. I put together a 24-hour training. Well, hang on. I take that back. It's how to start a podcast in 24 hours and 5 simple steps. But it's not like, it does not take 24 hours. This is going to be a free masterclass that I put together basically overnight that I knew so many of you needed right now, because you need something to take your mind off of everything that's going on, or maybe you want to help someone else in your life start a podcast, or maybe you are an administrator, a teacher, someone who's suddenly working from home, and you are trying to figure out how to bridge this gap with your employees or your students or just people around the world. So I wanted to offer this fantastic workshop that is how to start a podcast in 24 hours. So go to profitpodcasting.com/24hour. That's profitpodcasting/24 HOUR. Go check it out. Find all the details for the upcoming masterclasses, and I'll see you soon. Okay, y'all. I hope you're not jealous, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you where I am. I am sitting on a porch in the middle of nowhere, and I'm on a porch swing. and I'm listening to the river and I hear birds and I hear something scurrying around in the woods, which I hope it's just a squirrel or a rabbit and not something scary that's going to come attack me. But I wanted to share with you today about being selective with your podcast guests, because this is just so important to the integrity of your show. And it's just all the things. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Because if you've been thinking about creating a podcast for a while, well, I'm so glad you found this show. Think of this as the shortcut / time-saving version of searching Google and YouTube for hours and hours trying to figure out the world of podcasting. Trust me, as a busy mama of 3, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to be spent or wasted, I should say, searching the web, trying to find all the right ideas and all the amazing things that are out there, and you just end up overwhelmed. Trust me, I've been there, done that, took home the souvenir. But this podcast is going to help you in practical ways, because twice a week we'll be delivering episodes that are going to give you steps to help you create a podcast your audience can't wait to listen to. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, y'all. So like I said, I am sitting on a porch swing chatting here with you today, and I feel like I need to give a disclaimer. Like, if you hear me scream in the middle of this recording, it's because a wasp has completely came and attacked me. I keep hearing it behind my head, and I have my little notebook here, and I am fully ready to swat it away if it comes right at my head. So that's just my disclaimer. If you hear something, it's because I am out on spring break with the family, but I really wanted to just try out my portable setup with my Tascam and my XLR microphones. And don't worry, there is a YouTube video coming, so you can see exactly what my setup is and how I use it. And I did a episode earlier with my son, Nicholas, and then I'm doing one later with my husband, because this is just so much fun. I love that we're out, like in nature, getting some fresh air with the family, but I love being able to record on the fly, like in a totally different setting. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's actually like a river running and I can hear it, and it's so beautiful. And I really wanted to take advantage of being able to record like this, because how fun is this? By the way, the setup that I have requires 0 internet connection. So if you were on a boat somewhere or in the mountains or somewhere and you just didn't have any kind of reception or anything, it doesn't matter. What I'm using requires none of that. And I will definitely link to everything whenever I air the YouTube video. So I want you to know all about that, because this is so easy. It's so much fun, and I'm already loving this. So let's get right to it. So today, we are talking about how to be very selective with your podcast guest. Now, this came from an example. I had a friend. She's been podcasting for, I want to say 6 months now, but I don't even think it's been that long. And she was like, Crystal, please tell me that you get these ridiculous emails just as much as I do. And she forwarded it to me. And it was just such a bad pitch of, this is all about me. I'm fancy. I have all these accolades. Like, I have all this. I just want to talk about my company because my company is amazing and I am amazing and I would be perfect for your show. And I mean, and I wish that I was exaggerating, but I'm not, and it's really funny because I actually got the verbatim email sent to me as well. And she said that she got it from someone else. Like, it was like somebody else told her, oh yeah, that same guy, he sent that to you. Yep, me too. So I think that people are catching on that podcasting is a way to go to promote your product, your service, like all the things, your event. And so you're going to get a lot of spam. Like as a podcaster, like just kind of forewarning you, you may get emails, you may get private messages, you may get direct messages, like all the places. So I really wanted to address how to be super selective with your podcast guests, because your podcast is sacred. And I know y'all are like, Crystal, that's a little dramatic, but it's truly how I feel about this podcast. Like y'all don't know, like I wish I could sit here and tell you, but I don't want to air out, my dirty laundry with all the bad pitches that I've gotten. I'm not going to put somebody on blast for the terrible pitches that I've gotten, but it is very sacred to me. I get pitched all the time. I mean, I have people say, hey, can I come on your show and talk about this? And can I do that? And like this would be perfect. And most of the time I don't respond to them because it's not even worth my time to explain why they're not a good fit for my podcast. Instead, what I've really taken note of is, why do I have that gut reaction of not having them on my show? And this is kind of going back to like having standards for your podcast. And now if you haven't started, you're like, I would love to have anybody on my show because then that's going to give me exposure and that's going to get me in front of other people. Resist. Please do not just give in to anybody coming onto your show, because it really compromises the integrity of your audience. And you guys, like y'all are I hold y'all above myself when it comes to this show. Like I produce everything on this podcast for you. And even if I had a cool opportunity to interview someone who's like super, super cool, but they did not align with this show, I mean, I'd have to say no. Maybe we could do a Facebook Live together or something, but I just don't really... that's not what you came here for. Like if it was something that was totally off topic, off subject, it just wouldn't even make sense, because maybe I'm excited about it, but y'all could care less. And I know what y'all are excited about. So you definitely want to make sure that everything aligns with what your podcast is about. Now, I don't care if you started last week, if you haven't launched, or if you've been doing this for 2 years, you will at some point start getting random emails, private messages, direct messages that people are just wanting to promote their own stuff. And I want you to ask yourself a few questions whenever this happens. I want you to say, is this person coming to me out of integrity? Because you can tell right off the bat. Like I can't even tell you how many pitches I've gotten where it's the wrong name. Like I got an email one time on Facebook Messenger, or I got a message on Facebook Messenger, and it was like, "Dear Mark, you have a great show," and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, wow, well, that was lazy. You couldn't even change the name. I've seen other pitches where it says, "Dear insert name," and where like, I guess a virtual assistant or somebody didn't catch that they were supposed to personalize it. Like, guys, oh my gosh. And you think, I wish that I was making this stuff up. Like this is the stuff where you're just like, I wish that this wasn't true, but it is, and it happens. And so just be prepared for it. But I want you to have standards in place that say, okay, if someone is not within this industry, like kind of like a collective whole. So like for me, if it's a podcaster or someone who has tips for podcasters or podcast guesting or equipment, like it's pretty big. Like, even under the umbrella of podcasting, there are a lot of different things that we could talk about. We could talk about conferences for podcasters. We could talk about equipment. We could talk about ways to, strategies to implement or ways to automate parts of your podcasting, editing. There's so many things that we could talk about on this show. But if someone comes to me, I've had people come to me that want to talk about like their sales techniques that have nothing to do with podcasting. I know we recently had Nikki Roush on the show, and she teaches about sales techniques, but she was a perfect fit because she had been a guest on over 50 plus podcasts. So whenever she was pitched to me, I was like, this is great. Yes, I can absolutely. Like, I don't even care how much she promotes her own stuff because she's still bringing value to this audience. She's going to talk about, and I have a way of getting the information out of my guests that I want, because I know what y'all are wanting to know. I know the questions that you would want me to ask her. So those are the things that I bring to the table. And then, I let her pitch whatever she has going on, whether it's an event, a product, a book, a service, whatever. I'm happy to do that if you first commit to bringing something of value to this audience, because that's more important. I don't want the value brought to me. I want it brought to my audience. So that's what I mean by like, it's sacred to me, the relationship that I have with my audience. And I do not want to compromise that, because once you compromise it, then what? Right? Like, then what? What kind of benefit is that? Like, if you don't trust me, why would you keep coming back? Especially whenever you're just like, gosh, Crystal just keeps having these people on that just talk about themselves and they're not even bringing anything of value. I never want that to happen. Never, ever, ever. So I am super, super selective. I stay true to the integrity of this show, which is helping entrepreneurs start, launch, and market their podcast. If someone pitches me and their pitch does not revolve around that or cannot be adapted to work for this podcast, then it's a no-go. It's a no-go for me. So I always keep my audience in mind. And the last thing I really want to hit home with is I don't want you to be tempted by the size of someone's audience, especially if you're just getting started out. So there was an opportunity for me when I was first starting my podcast to get in front of a very, very large audience. And our audiences did not align whatsoever. But I went ahead with the interview anyway, and I did it, and then it never got promoted in front of this large audience. Anyway, it was a very awkward interview, and I just, I don't know, I can't say that I felt really, really good about it, because it was still a cool interview. It was great. I love talking and meeting other people and hearing cool stories. But at the end of the day, I felt like I was just pursuing this person, and I thought it was going to be a great fit because they had a great audience. But there's no guarantee that something amazing is going to come from being in front of a huge audience. I would rather see you in front of a very niche audience that is going to have your people, like only the people that would love to listen to your podcast. Like, get in front of those audiences. I don't care if it's just 100 people. I don't care if it's only 10 people. I would rather see you be in front of those people than in front of hundreds of thousands of people who will not care about what you have to say. Because let me tell you, friends, like, that is upsetting. If you think, oh, this person has 500,000 followers, I'm going to get to talk to them, and then they're going to share all their information, and then people are just going to come flooding the gates. Like, nope, it's not how it happens. It's not how it happened. It's not how it happened for me, at least. So that's my experience. But I just want you to stay true to the integrity of your show. And this really wasn't what this episode was going to be about, but it's kind of like a bonus tip. If you are wondering, how do you let somebody down gently who has pitched you, just say, I'm sorry, but this does not align with the integrity of my show. You don't have to say I'm sorry. I just heard it. I heard Rachel Hollis in my head say, girl, stop apologizing. So I take that back. Don't say I'm sorry. Just say, I appreciate your pitch, but this does not align with what I'm trying to accomplish with the podcast. And I know that you may have friends or family or colleagues or people that you've met at cool places. They may pitch you, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, I think that you still have to ask yourself, is this going to resonate with my audience? Will this add value to my audience? And is this something I know that a year, 2 years from now, I will have said, yes, I'm so glad I did that interview. Because those are the only kind of interviews I do nowadays. And I love every single interview that I do. It's so much fun for me. And I love, because I'm bringing, everything is aligned. Like, nothing feels icky. Nothing feels spammy on their end, because I've already told them, like, hey, this is what we're about here. And they agree. They're excited. So yeah, just let them down gently, but stick to your guns. And I want you to think of what are the standards that I want to have for my podcast, and then just stick to it. Stick to it. I know it's hard sometimes when you have people that pitch you that you want to be nice to them, but you can't please everybody. And I think that staying true to who you are and what you want your podcast to be about is more important. But that does it for today and my podcasting out in nature. So go check out the show notes for this episode at crystalprofit.com/episode 138. And remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.